Hey, this is the process. You've landed here. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 43. We're going to hit, this is my big landscape team analysis, South and West AFC conferences. This is all in hopes of helping you win your fantasy football drafts for this season so you can crush your opponents and watch them grovel before you as you collect the championship. At least we hope that is the way we want it to work out. The journey so far, like I said, this is 43, lesson 43. You should obviously have not landed and started here. So there's a lot of material up to this point, but here we go. And let's continue our journey in the AFC. This is the South. See if I can get something here to, yeah, there we go. Yeah, crush your league. So this shows kind of a view of what I like to consider a landscape of, in this case, the last 5 years. And we're looking at the different teams by positions, and we're just kind of strolling across to see kind of where the successes and failures of each team in this conference. Like I said, the reason I like conference level interactions is these teams will be playing each other at least 4 times. I'm sorry, 2 times, and maybe more in the playoffs, but certainly twice in the upcoming season. And so let's start with the quarterback here, and you can see here in pink we have the team. We have 2016 to 2020. And here's the 5-year average. So right away, we can look and see there's kind of two that have been really well, Tennessee and Indianapolis. And Houston has not done well over the 5 years, and Jacksonville has not as well. So there's kind of a tale over 5 years of two stories here. With that said, 2020, we see that Houston and Tennessee did well, and Jacksonville really crushed down below here, and that probably led to their drafting of a quarterback in the rookie drafts here. Indianapolis was nothing good, nothing bad, just In fact, Indianapolis had 2018 was a banner year, and they dominated, and they have been not doing well in 19 and 20. Tennessee has done well in the last couple of years, as Houston. There's some rocky road in Houston, so curious to see what happens. So if you look at a last couple years view, looks like Tennessee and Houston would be expected to have the passing power. Indianapolis might be moving in, given what's going on now as far as free agency and thing. We'll see what's going on. I'm thinking Tennessee's the safer pick, just given the issues in Houston, but I don't think we know at this point. Okay, so if we kind of give the quarterbacks to Houston and Tennessee, what about the running back? And so that's the next level here. And again, notice the 5-year journey shows Tennessee and Indianapolis the tops, and Jacksonville and Houston at the bottom. So, I don't know what to say about that. Indianapolis was, I'm sorry, good with the quarterback and Tennessee. So I may have said Houston, my bad. It was Indianapolis and Tennessee. And here we go, running back as well. So a passing and a rushing standpoint there for those two. So there is a figure there that we will continue to see that versus any kind of regression. Notice Indianapolis really owned this conference last year as far as rushing, and Jonathan Taylor, is highly, highly thought of and is going early in the 2021 ranks here as far as ADP levels. And Houston and Jacksonville, So, and Tennessee, we hope to see better from Tennessee. So that's that story. Tight end is Houston, Indianapolis, Tennessee, pretty close, and Jacksonville hasn't had a good tight end in forever. So I'm not expecting much. I would not be reaching out for Jacksonville tight ends anytime soon. The other ones are just There's nothing that jumps out at me or not. Nothing that's making me move to or away from any of these. I don't think your tight end leaders will come from this conference and from any of these teams. There may be some good streamers in here. Fish around a little bit to see, but I'm underwhelmed by what I see so far. And finally, the wide receivers. It was a three-way pass in 2020. And Houston has historically done well. Certainly in the 18-19, they dropped in 20. So that's some of the issue with Houston is their passing kind of collapsed last year. Jacksonville, Tennessee, People taking A.J. Brown early, and I'm just like, I'm not reaching for him in 2021 drafts. Okay, I'm not shying away, but if there's others around, I'm looking elsewhere. Kind of a lackluster conference in general. There are some highs here. I think in the rushing, Indianapolis does catch my attention, and we'll see what Tennessee, if it really moves up in passing here. Kind of just ho-hum. Some data strikes me as some not. This is kind of my view here. I did stars just to remind us who did really good in 2020 above the 5-year average. So we did have some notable passing phenomenon 2020. Almost 3 of the 4. Jacksonville didn't do so well. Indianapolis stands out in the rushing. The tight ends are lackluster, but there was a little bit of increase, not a lot. And Jacksonville and Tennessee did a little bit in the wide receivers. Nothing dramatic, but there it is. So tells me when I look at this that there's some passing issues, but looks like there's a lot of spreading. I'm not sure there are key, pass targets. Looks like there may be a lot of spreading going on in here. So I think Indianapolis kind of uses their passing running backs, and I believe that's part of why you're getting a uptick here. So that may be something, like I said, that's something that really jumps out to me and gets my attention here in this journey. And this is looking 16, and of course I made a mistake. That's 2020. looking at that. Okay, let's move on to, okay, graphically, we can see what the data was showing us as far as 2020 versus 19 and then 2020 versus 5-year average. This is kind of the doublets that I look for. So Houston and Tennessee and Indianapolis did fairly well, but did improve, and that's good. And then here's that Indianapolis and the rushing. So that inspires me for the rushing game there. And Tennessee's tight ends have done well compared to others. I mean, 2019, Indianapolis and Jacksonville have done well. But Tennessee owns the doublet there for a 5-year and a 1-year increase. So that, I would consider, and I think Smith is gone, so is that Fisker? That may be a deep tight end pull in a premium league. That may be your third, maybe a streamer. I don't know, maybe a situational play in daily fantasy sports. Just kind of keep that going there. As far as wide receivers, Tennessee did see a little bit, but it's just not any great shakes that I see. The only thing that really inspires me was Indianapolis and its rushing game. But Tennessee did get a doublet, so pay a little bit of attention. A.J. Brown's getting some play. I just don't know if it says if he's overpriced, I guess is another way to say it. So I'm assuming he's a little overpriced and wait to take him a little later than most are. So I'll take him at a certain value, but not kind of where he's going at this point. Okay. Okay, let's continue AFC West here. And we see the same kind of data table here, and you've seen this before because hopefully you've seen the lesson before. 5-year, I think we can see the tale of two teams, Kansas City and the Chargers, for quarterbacks doing fairly well, and there's nothing that would suggest that we won't see for sure Kansas City. Holmes is probably worth a number one here. This is really, really nice, and it's really good data that backs up, taking a player number one at a position. Chargers, 2020, it was okay, but it was a decline. So let's not think that. In fact, if you look, 2020 was the worst in the last 5 years. So just if that team improves, does it go back to where it was? In other words, look at where Kansas City is as far as the passing the quarterback. The Raiders, Denver, unless they pull off getting Rodgers or some other situation, lots of good running backs and wide receivers. They're being hurt by the lack of a good quarterback. It's pretty clear. I don't think we need the data to tell us what we can see and saw last year. So bullish on Kansas City. No reason to expect any kind of declines, barring injury. Okay. Rushing. Looks like Chargers have done well there in 5 years, so they've done well passing and rushing. And the Raiders have done pretty good rushing as well. And you notice those two teams were 5 year good, and last year was good. And Kansas City really needs something. They have really declined from 17, 18, and now. So I don't know if Solaire is the answer. It wasn't the answer last year. Denver, Gordon wasn't the answer. Uh, so we continue to see kind of a tale of two teams here, good rushing teams and So Kansas City, by having a quarterback, is making its living passing, not rushing as much. And Denver, they can't pass, not so good rushing. What can they do? So tight ends, the Raiders, Waller has really come on and should be on your radar again. The data says, look hard. Of course, Kelsey, nice, has done well. So nothing to suggest Kelsey is not worth a number one. I do know that Waller's right there as well. So the question, I think, for 2021 is, if Kittle stays injury free, does he take at number two, or does Waller overtake? Where does the Frisco story with Kittle come in with the tight ends? But think about it, this conference has the third and first tight end. So there's going to be a lot of throwing to tight ends. Denver, Fant is okay. Chargers, there's nothing there. Okay, this is where you're drawing your tight ends from, and you'll probably be lucky to get one. You'll have to reach to get one for sure. Passing wise, Kansas City, that's where it was making its living, on its passing to the tight end and the wide receiver. Tyreek Hill is solid, and continues to be solid. Nice 5 year. And the Chargers, Keenan Allen, also driving that team. You can see where Allen was injured, so nothing suggests that we won't see a continuation of these 5 year stats. Nothing that I see suggests any dramatic changes. I'm sure there will be. We can only look backwards. You can predict moving forward. But here we go. I think the biggest thing I'm interested in is the rushing game here. What's going on? Do we see any big changes? I think we know the tight end story. I think the wide receiver story. If Rodgers or somebody comes to Denver, then okay, it's going to probably pop like back right there with the rest. That can pull Denver, but then Denver will be mimicking the passing enhanced nature of this conference. So they'll just be keeping up with the Chargers and Kansas City. Okay, so it's not like they're going to just magically crush everybody else in the conference. It's just they'll get closer to par and maybe battle for a conference championship if they get somebody like a Rodgers. But right now, don't know. So just kind of keep your mind going on that, if to see what happens. The doublets I like to see. The quarterbacks were Raiders a little bit. Certainly Kansas City did well. Nice. Rushing, I think we talked about that. But it's not so great. But we did see a doublet here, and we have issues with Denver and KC. KC pretty much has been about the same. So they're more steady, whereas Waller has really moved the Raiders up here, and that gives the Raiders hope to be more competitive. Okay, so if Waller gets hurt, that puts the Raiders at a disadvantage. So they're kind of a one-trick passing pony there. So be aware of that too. That could crumble the Raiders' plans. Passing, only KC has done well and actually improved last year, and that should be 20, not 2012. I don't know what I was doing. I was asleep when I made all these. But there's that. I think we talked about that, but this just graphically allows us to consider here. Don't know what, like I said, I think the feeling I get is, based on my analysis, is we're going to get more of the same type of conference. I don't see, barring injury or something dramatic, anything that's going to surprise us. I mean, maybe something rushing happens in KC or passing happens with the Raiders. With Denver. We'll see. Percent-wise, 20-19. KC did well. Everybody else down. Rushing, Chargers, Denver, and the other teams steady, a little bit below. So nothing dramatic, nothing just moved up here for us. Tight ends, really not a big change, and COVID may have hit some of this. Okay. Chargers did a little bit better, but they were kind of behind anyway. Passing, three of these teams, here's Denver, three of these teams did well over 2019, even in COVID. So I'm not expecting any changes from what I think this probably mirrors 2021 here, unless something happens in Denver. Okay, so, and this is just a 5-year, and you can consider a longer view of these teams as well. And certainly you see passing, you see KC is steady. Denver's had a good year versus 5-year average. So Fant has improved, but not greatly. So see, sometimes numbers can trick you. And Waller has done well. So Fant, maybe a deep tight end 2 type. Rushing, Denver really needs some help here. Goodness. And then Denver needs help with the wide receivers. Chargers and Raiders about the same. Kansas City has improved. I think having Kelsey here opens up, the passing for the wide receivers. Okay. If KC were ever to get a running game going, oh my goodness. Goodness, they would crush this conference. Looking for doublets, we see KC, we have a doublet here, passing. Nothing really happening in the rushing game. Nothing really happening here in the tight end, and KC is a doublet here. So everybody else is down in recent times. So again, nothing is really inspiring me except Kansas City. So I think if I'm going to fish for some deep passing targets, maybe a wide receiver 2 or 3 would probably be fishing in the Kansas City pool. Nicole Hardman, maybe. We'll see. See who else after Tyreek. Keep your eyes open. See what's going on. Okay. I think that's my 10-cent tour of these two conferences. Kind of a short story in some ways. Kind of a story of declines and mediocre kind of running in place. So not sure I'm expecting a lot from this. So take a look, think about it. This is the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. Hopefully, you'll come back. We'll go into the NFC next couple of lessons here and continue marching forward here to lesson 100. We'll see if we can break that by July. Come back.